Right, so then they cancel the... Right, so then they censor... Right, so then they censor their comments because they're suddenly not advertiser friendly. Yeah, I know they got a gig to do and all, but... Oh, wait, what's that? What do you mean we're live? Oh, crap baskets. Wow, first day on the job and already... Hey, what's good, everyone? This is your Lethal Sperg, John Peterson here. First, before we get into Kojin kicking the snot balls out of me again, we have an update on the R. Kelly debacle. So, Monica, would you be so kind as to pull up the article? Sure thing. Thanks, Monica. You're doing God's work already. All right, R. Kelly. All right, this is from earlier today at about 5:30 in the morning. R. Kelly posts $100K bail, walks out of Cook County Jail. After 3 nights at Cook County Jail, R&B singer R. Kelly walked out Monday evening after posting a $10,000 bail bond. R. Kelly, 52, who walked out of jail around 5:25 p.m. Monday, just hours after his attorney sexually entered a not guilty plea on behalf of allegations he sexually abused a woman and 3 girls over the course of 12 years. Kelly walked out to a large media gathering outside the jail. The singer said nothing as he got into a black truck that was waiting for him. The truck then drove off. It is unclear where the vehicle was headed, but around 6 p.m. it made a stop at the McDonald's previously known as the Rock and Roll McDonald's. Kelly appeared in court Monday morning outside defense attorney Steve Greenberg in an orange jumpsuit after spending the weekend in jail. During the hearing, the judge also upheld a previous ruling that Kelly does not have to pay the $161,663 in back child support prior to posting bond. The singer's next court date has been scheduled for March 22nd. Kelly, 52, was charged on Friday with 10 counts of aggravated criminal assault, sexual abuse. A Cook County judge said Saturday set bail at $1 million, calling the accusations against Kelly disturbing. Kelly agreed to post $100,000 or 10% of the total bail amount to go free. And Kojin, hey man, what's up? But anyway. Whatever. Because I don't see any feminists calling him out. Oh wait, that's because he's not a straight white male. You're not wrong, my man. You are not wrong. But you know how the show goes. I read an article, and then we get into the scurst, and then we get into the too spooky stuff. And the duels and stuff. So, anywho, let's continue with the article here. Kelly needed to post $100,000 or 10% of the total bail amount to go free. Defense attorney Steve Greenberg said Kelly didn't really have the money. The singer was dropped from his record label, is behind on rent, and owes more than $161,000 in child support. The creepy porn lawyer, Michael Avenatti, the creepy porn lawyer representing someone who claims to be an R. Kelly whistleblower, said a second video showed Kelly engaged in sexual assault of a minor will be provided to the prosecutors Monday morning. This is a tape we knew existed, but I just came into possession of the tape within the last 48 hours, Avenatti said on WGN Morning News. Avenatti told the media Monday that the second videotape was likely made in 1999 or 2000, and that the victim on the tape was part of the ongoing indictment. He also mentioned a third video. We have learned of the existence of a third videotape, and I believe there are many, many videotapes, said Avenatti. The third videotape depicts additional sexual assault and abuse by R. Kelly. Avenatti did not if did not, someone needs to work on their editing. If the alleged victim on the third video was someone who had already come forward. Prosecutors on Saturday laid out their case against Kelly, detailing abuse allegations that spanned 12 years and involved 4 separate victims. Kelly met one of the victims at her 16th birthday dinner, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox said. Another alleged victim, also 16, asked for his autograph outside of a court hearing for his 2008 child pornography charge. He was acquitted in that case. Defense attorney Steve Greenberg maintains Kelly's innocence. He didn't force anyone to have sex. He's a rock star. He doesn't have to have consensual sex. A 6-part Lifetime documentary called Surviving R. Kelly recently catapulted the singer back into the spotlight. In the show, blah blah blah. In the show, alleged victims and Kelly's close friends accused the singer of abuse, predatory behavior, and pedophilia. Last month, Fox made a plea for victims to come forward, calling the allegations against Kelly sickening. Each of the 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual assault Kelly is facing carries a possible sentence of 3 to 7 years. That's 30 to 70 years for all you math nerds out there. Probation without prison time is also an option. So, he's back in society. Hey, you know the man slapped the game? Kojin, you should have just stuck with Asuka. I'm just saying, Chief. I mean, she had the stones to go up against the world's strongest soy boy. That's none of my business. Alright, let's see if anyone has answered my call. No one. Oh well. Stop killing memes. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Stop killing memes and all of that. But anyway, let's get right into some too scarce stuff.
From bone-chilling bloodstains to fear-inducing phantom sightings, these are the 7 most haunted places in the US. Number 7. The Birdcage Theater. From 1881 until 1889, the Birdcage Theater was used not only as a theater, but also as a brothel and gambling parlor in Tombstone, Arizona. This was a place where miners occupying the town during the late 19th century's silver boom could gamble, buy beer and sex, and watch masquerade balls. The place had a legendary reputation for being a rowdy spot where fights would often break out. Bullet holes lined the walls of the building, and it's believed that at least 26 people lost their lives here. It's also said to be haunted. To this day, the theater operates as a tourist attraction, where workers and visitors alike have reported paranormal activity. Some claim to have seen the spirits of prostitutes and cowboys roaming the hallways, while there are also rumors that sounds of a 19th century style saloon party can still be heard some nights. On one occasion, a tourist found a $100 poker chip on one of the tables, something that had never been seen before. The manager then locked it in a safe with the plan of eventually showing it to experts. But when he later reopened the safe, however, the chip was gone. Another eerie instance involved Wyatt Earp, the sheriff famous for the OK Corral shootout. Wyatt Earp's statue once sat in the theater box that he preferred when the theater was fully operational. But curiously, every single morning for 6 months, his hat would be found in the middle of the floor. After consulting a historian, the theater was told that the statue was in the wrong box. It was mistakenly placed in the box that the Clanton family frequented. The significance being that notorious outlaw Billy Clanton was an enemy of Earp's and was killed by the sheriff during the infamous OK Corral shootout. Clanton's ghost is said to be a visitor of the theater, and thus was the one responsible for moving the hat. Number 6. The Biltmore Hotel. Located in Greensboro, North Carolina, the Biltmore Hotel was erected in 1895 for textile manufacturer Cone Mills, but was later renovated into a hotel. It also served as a brothel during the mid-20th century and still operates as a hotel to this day. But there have been frequently reported encounters with ghosts here. Room 32, for example, is haunted by Philip. Philip worked as an accountant for Cone Mills back when the building served as the company's office. One day, his dead body was discovered in the alleyway surrounded by glass. People initially assumed he committed suicide, but when investigators turned the body over, they found that his throat had been slit. It was later uncovered that he had been embezzling money from the company and that his murder might have been retribution. The case was never solved, however, and his ghost is rumored to haunt room 32, the room that used to be his office and was a room where he was thrown out of. Patrons of the room claim to see a man standing near the window looking out. Some female guests have claimed the ghost has even hopped into bed with them. Room 23 is also said to be haunted. During its time as a brothel, a prostitute named Lydia worked at the Biltmore and always took her clients to room 23. She died there after she was pushed down the hotel's stairs. These days, patrons who stay in room 23 claim to see a red-headed woman in the room. She's also been known to take a disliking towards drunks. Hotel guests who have had too much to drink claim to have a tough time walking up the stairs, almost as if someone was pushing them down the very same stairs on which Lydia was murdered. Number 5. The Old Idaho State Penitentiary. The Old Idaho State Penitentiary opened in 1872 and housed some of the worst criminals in the region for just over a century. By the 1930s, the prison garnered a reputation for being extremely violent. Famous criminals such as Lyda Southard and Harry Orchard were imprisoned here. Over the years, many riots erupted over the poor living conditions at the prison. In 1973, all the prisoners were moved to a newly built prison, and the Old Pen, as it was known, eventually became a tourist attraction. According to the website Road Trippers, people who visit the Old Pen experience odd, inexplicable phenomena. Some visitors, for example, claim they've been touched by unseen forces. The museum's employees say they hear wailing and screaming sounds when no one else is around, perhaps those of the inmates' ghosts. Number 4. The Villisca Axe Murder House. June 10th, 1912. The Moore family and 2 friends are found dead in their home in Villisca, Iowa. Though the crime was never solved, it was determined they were bludgeoned to death. The killer apparently hid in the family's attic and waited for an opportunity to kill them. Josiah and Sarah Moore were hacked to death along with their 4 children and 2 of the children's friends. There were many suspects to the crime, 2 of which were Andrew Sawyer and William Mansfield. But no one was ever charged, as Mansfield was able to produce an alibi and walk away freely, while Andy Sawyer was reported to behave strangely after the murders, but was still never convicted. The house where the murders took place is now believed to be haunted. A family that later occupied the house claims to have seen the shadow of an axe-wielding man. The same family also reported seeing blood-filled shoes that mysteriously moved and often came home to find their clothes thrown out of their drawers. The father claimed to be sharpening a knife when suddenly, the knife seemed to take a life of its own and stabbed him. Their children would often wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of other children crying. When ghost hunters visited the house, they claimed hearing a man saying, "I killed 6 kids," through their EVP detector, or electronic voice phenomenon detector. After asking who killed the kids, the same EVP replied with Andy. As stated earlier, Andy Sawyer was one of the main suspects behind the murders. Number 3. Myrtle's Plantation. American lawyer David Bradford was known mainly for his part in the Whiskey Rebellion of the late 18th century. In 1796, he built a home in Louisiana that still remains a historic landmark to this day. The house, which was built on Bradford's plantation, became known as Myrtle's Plantation. The slaves who worked it were sold several times over the years as the property changed hands. It's reported that up to 10 murders occurred on these grounds. Additionally, the site was built on a Tunica Indian burial ground. Thus, the house has been declared one of America's most haunted. One of the 12 ghosts who supposedly haunts the grounds is William Winter, an attorney who lived on the plantation from 1865 till 1871. When he was attacked by a stranger for unknown reasons, he retreated inside to safety. In an attempt to run upstairs, Winter died on the 17th step. Visitors say they can still hear his dying footsteps. Additionally, a man named Clark Woodruff supposedly kept a slave named Chloe. According to legend, she poisoned Woodruff's wife and daughters and was eventually hanged. When someone dies, it's a custom for their mirrors to be covered. The victims' mirrors, however, were not, and some say their spirits are still trapped inside. When Union soldiers ransacked the house during the Civil War, 3 of the soldiers were killed inside the house. A blood stain the size of a human body has never been able to be removed, and according to reports, cleaners have been unable to push a mop into the area to clean it. Number 2. The Amityville Horror House. The events that inspired the popular Amityville horror series took place at a large house on Long Island. Ronald DeFeo shot and killed 6 of his family members inside the house in the Amityville suburb. After killing his parents and 4 siblings, he confessed to the crimes and was sentenced to 6 consecutive life sentences. Soon after the murders, George and Kathy Lutz moved into the house with their children, but they stayed for less than a month after claiming they were haunted by ghosts during their stay. Kathy claimed to levitate and said that she would see red eyes watching her. She even had nightmares about the murders. Strange smells, cold spots, and household objects moving on their own all suggested the family had moved into a haunted house. When a priest tried blessing the house, he claimed a strange voice ordered him to get out. Number 1. The Hammock House. Built in 18th century Beaufort, North Carolina, the Hammock House is a place of intrigue for many ghost hunters since it was once occupied by Blackbeard. Many unusual events occurred during this house's long history, which may explain the amounts of paranormal activity it experiences. Blackbeard once rented a room in the house while it was still an inn. During his stay, he allegedly hung a young woman on the property for reasons that are unclear. Some people claim that her cries can still be heard when the moon is full. Another such incident was the case of the unfaithful wife. A husband once came home to find his wife in the arms of another man. In his fit of rage, he grabbed and threw her down the stairs to her death. Then, in 1747, another man named Richard Russell returned home from a sea voyage and took one of his slaves to the 3rd floor to punish him. But the slave fought back and pushed Russell down the stairs. In similar fashion to the unfaithful wife, Russell fell to his death. Furthermore, 3 Union soldiers during the Civil War took refuge at the house after the nearby Fort Mason was seized by the Confederates. The 3 men mysteriously went missing and were never seen again. It wasn't until the house underwent renovations in 1915 that their bodies were discovered under the porch. They were identified thanks to their belt buckles and patches, which were still intact. Given the long history of violence in the Hammock House, many people believe the place to be haunted. According to ghostmysteries.com, the house is currently owned by the Giles Coulter family, who claims to oftentimes hear and see strange noises, including the cries of a woman and odd bloodstains that cannot be removed. If you enjoyed this video, click on the link in the top right corner of your screen to view more scary, haunted photos like these on theywillkillyou.com. From abnormal accidents to premeditated murders, these are 8 honeymoons turned fatal. Whoever knew marriage's lifelong bond could be so short-lived? Number 8. Sven Fauch and Chantal Bayer. Newlyweds Sven Fauch and Chantal Bayer were enjoying their honeymoon in South Africa when things took a deadly turn. The couple was visiting the Aloe Ridge Nature Reserve near Johannesburg when they stopped by a group of rhinos to take some photos. That's when one of the rhinos attacked Chantal, goring the 24-year-old woman to near death. As the story goes, the park ranger responsible for taking the couple around suggested that Chantel stand a bit closer to the animals as he took a few pictures. It was at this moment the rhino attacked, charging Chantel and tossing her into the air. Though she survived the assault, the rhino managed to break some of her ribs and collapsed a lung in the process. Number 7. Michaela McAravey. January 10th, 2011. Michaela McAravey, daughter of famed soccer coach Mickey Hart, was enjoying her honeymoon in Mauritius when she was strangled to death in her hotel room. Authorities initially suspected her husband John of perpetrating the crime, but they soon discovered another suspect in the cold-blooded killing. John told police that he and his wife were having a relaxing lunch when Michaela decided to go back to their room to retrieve something. She was then attacked by 2 hotel employees, who decided to rob the hotel room of their valuables. To their surprise, Michaela returned and the hotel employees panicked. They wrestled her to the ground, strangled her to death, then placed her body in a bathtub, which was then turned on. John returned several minutes later to the room to discover her dead body. After ruling him out as a suspect, it was quickly discovered who the murderers really were: Avinash Tribhuwan, Sandeep Monea, and Raj Tikoi. But the 9-member jury of the court ultimately ruled the 3 men not guilty due to a lack of DNA evidence. This sparked harsh criticism of the Mauritian government. Michaela's native country of Ireland even suggested a boycott of their country, saying the island's tourism sector was unsafe for travelers. Number 6. Cody Johnson. Jordan Graham and Cody Johnson were married for only 8 days when Jordan pushed her husband Cody off a cliff to his death in Montana's Glacier National Park. There were no living witnesses to the incident, and Graham claimed that she had been in a heated argument with her husband when she shoved him out of anger. But as it turns out, the couple was standing atop a cliff when all this took place, and Johnson plummeted to his death. Jordan Graham fled the scene and later reported her husband missing. Friends and relatives searched for Johnson for 4 days straight, but to no avail. Graham even pretended to be a part of the search effort and eventually led them to a spot where she thought he might be, telling them she speculated that he might have gone there. A surveillance tape later revealed, however, that the couple entered the park together and that Graham had later on left alone. She eventually pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and in March of 2014 was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Number 5. Tina Watson. Gabe and Tina Watson, a newlywed couple from Alabama, were scuba diving in Australia after being married for only 11 days. It was at this point during their honeymoon that Tina was killed under what authorities believed to be suspicious circumstances. Tina Watson had recently become a certified scuba diver, but somehow lost consciousness during their most recent scuba expedition and drowned to death. Gabe claimed to have been attempting to get the dive rope to Tina since they were diving in such strong currents, but he claimed that as he was doing so, she began sinking faster than he could rescue her. Nearby divers told investigators that they saw the two engaging in some sort of underwater bear hug moments before Tina drowned. Another diver, who is actually a doctor by profession, was in the middle of taking a photo of his wife when he accidentally snapped a photo of Tina's lifeless body laying on the ocean floor. The doctor also claimed that he watched Gabe leave his wife behind, taking nearly 3 minutes to swim back up to the ocean surface. Other witnesses added that he was relaxed and in a talkative mood once at the surface, while others were attempting to save Tina's life. Additionally, Gabe changed his personal recollection of what had happened over a dozen times. This, along with the other eyewitness accounts, ultimately forced him to plead guilty in court in 2009. Despite receiving a 4-year sentence, he served just 1 in an Australian prison as Alabama prosecutors asked him to be extradited to the United States to stand trial for murder in Alabama. This was due to the fact that a coroner found evidence showing that Tina likely died from Gabe turning off her air supply and holding onto her until the point of unconsciousness, then letting her drown. Furthermore, Tina's father indicated that Gabe asked Tina to make him the sole beneficiary of her life insurance shortly before their marriage. In the end, Gabe Watson was tried for murder in Alabama, with the judge dismissing the case due to a lack of evidence. Number 4. Michael and Nicole Abel. Michael and Nicole Abel were a freshly married couple from Pittsburgh on their honeymoon in Hawaii when they were killed in a helicopter crash in 2011. Also on board were Canadians Stuart Robertson and Eva Wannershow, with pilot Nathan Klein. The newlyweds, both of whom were described as talented engineers, were 5 days into their Hawaiian honeymoon when they decided to take a helicopter tour. All 5 passengers were killed during the crash. An investigation into the incident found that errors by the pilot, as well as weather conditions, led to the fatal crash. Pittsburgh news network WTAE states that the group was sightseeing in West Maui when Klein attempted to fly over some mountains, but failed to give the helicopter enough space to clear them. They crashed and the aircraft caught fire. While the exact details of the crash are unclear, it is known that this flight in particular was Klein's third tour of the day. There had also been a massive rainstorm not long before the tour, along with high winds and a low cloud base that likely impeded the pilot's vision. Number 3. Luke Day. Egypt, 2009. Luke Day was honeymooning with his bride Sophie Nicholson Cole when he drowned to death. Day worked as a high school French teacher and was on a tour of the Nile River with his new bride and a couple other tourists when a strong storm caused their boat to be swamped with water. In an act of valor, Day helped Sophie and several others back on the boat to safety before saving himself. His bravery proved fatal as a boat sank along with Day himself. The couple was on their months-long honeymoon, which was to conclude with a cruise down the Nile on a small felucca boat. But during their first night on the boat, a massive storm that destroyed nearby houses turned the water from calm to dangerous, with waves several feet high violently rocking the boat from side to side. The boat's skipper ushered his 4 passengers under the deck, which proved to be dangerous as it caused the boat to capsize. As the couple and 2 other passengers tried scrambling to safety, Day assisted everyone else in exiting the boat but was drowned himself. Sophie, who worked as an environmental researcher and climate change expert, spent the next 3 hours frantically searching for her husband in the Nile's muddy, toxic water. This proved futile and she was unable to find the body. Although she was initially questioned by Egyptian authorities, Sophie was able to return to the UK and stated that the incident made her feel as though she had been torn in half. Number 2. David Bulmer-Ritzi. Marco Bulmer-Ritzi and husband David were celebrating their honeymoon in Australia when a tragic accident ended David's life. David fell to his death when he tripped down some stairs at a friend's house while Marco was asleep. He did not die instantly, but instead cracked his skull and was rushed to a hospital. Marco later recalled his last moments with David as he told him goodbye and thanked him for being a good husband. It is unclear what exactly caused David to fall, but authorities speculate that he tripped walking up the stairs in the dark, then fell down backwards. After the incident, the state of South Australia did not officially recognize the gay marriage as valid when issuing the death certificate, claiming David's status as never married. While the couple was legally married in Sunderland, England, Australia does not permit same-sex marriage, requiring David's family to approve of the funeral arrangements instead of Marco himself. This drew harsh criticism, especially from David and Marco's friends and family, who claimed Australia was acting in a discriminatory manner. According to one source, David's ashes were confiscated from Marco in Hong Kong on the way home as he was not the next of kin. Marco also claimed that the United Kingdom's government was unhelpful in confirming his status as David's legal spouse. South Australian Premier Jay Weatherill issued an apology for the manner in which his state handled the incident and vowed to push for the certificate to be changed. Number 1. Jonathan and Emma Gray. 2011. A young couple named Jonathan and Emma Gray is killed during a quad bike accident, leaving their 6-month-old child orphaned. The couple was from Halifax, England, but was vacationing on the island resort of Kuridu in the Maldives. Just before the accident, they were attending a party put on by a resort employee they had just recently met. The party's host, Philippe Petre, then gave them a ride back to their villa on his quad bike, which he crashed when taking a curve too sharply. Jonathan and Emma were tragically killed upon impact, while Petre suffered only minor injuries. It took hours for anyone to discover the dead couple. Meanwhile, Petre fled the scene. He was charged with disobedience to order, but was eventually acquitted and returned to his native Sweden, making it unlikely that he will ever stand trial for the couple's death. The couple shown here was also on their honeymoon, and this photo in particular was taken moments before the wife watched her newlywed husband get eaten by sharks right in front of her very own eyes. Find out more about this gruesome story today at theywillkillyou.com by clicking on the link at the top right corner of your screen. Today we present to you 6 of the deadliest roller coaster accidents in history. What were meant to be fun outings instead took a fatal turn for the worst. Number 6. The Overseas Chinatown East Theme Park. Tuesday, June 29th, 2010. The Space Journey, a ride designed to simulate the flight of a space shuttle, falls 50 feet to the ground at the Overseas Chinatown East Amusement Park in the southern city of Shenzhen, a 1-hour drive north of Hong Kong. The failed ride left 6 theme park goers dead, including 4 women and 2 men. The victims ranged from 24 to 48 years old. In addition, 10 others were injured, 5 of which were left in serious condition. The injured victims were taken to the Shenzhen hospital where they immediately received medical treatment. The Space Journey ride held 12 cabins, each of which can fit up to 4 people. Witnesses told Hong Kong's Daily News that one of the cabins came loose during a high-speed spin and struck other cabins, while the Southern Metropolis Daily reported that survivors heard a loud explosion of what seemed to be a power cut moments before the drop. The day following the accident, the 6 people who lost their lives were identified as tourists from different provinces in China. Perhaps the most appalling part was the fact that the accident took place 3 months after a visit by state officials, and only 8 days after a post-maintenance inspection by theme park employees. The Space Journey attraction ironically received an A-level National Safety Standard qualification from the China Special Equipment Inspection 1 year prior to the incident as well. Compensation is expected to be paid to the victims in accordance with public liability insurance. As a result, Lao Yibo, deputy general manager of a popular Chinese travel agency, recommended entertainment facilities and theme parks be graded by their level of safety as well as their application of various types of safety inspections. Number 5. Six Flags Over Georgia. June 2008. A 17-year-old teenage boy is decapitated by the Batman ride in Atlanta's Six Flags Over Georgia theme park. Spokeswoman Hila Sheth said in a news release that Asia LeSean Ferguson of Springfield, South Carolina, ignored signs that said the restricted area was both dangerous and off-limits, and proceeded to climb 2 6-foot fences in order to recover a hat he lost while riding the roller coaster. Police said the ride was flying at its maximum speed of 50 miles per hour when the machine rammed into Asia, splicing his head off instantaneously. Another teenage boy who was a friend of Asia's also entered the area but did not receive any injuries. Asia and his parents were at the park with the Oakley Spring Baptist Church Sunday School to sightsee and spend the day there with the rest of its 200 members from Springfield, South Carolina. Out of respect for Ferguson's family, Six Flags officials closed the 11-year-old Batman roller coaster ride for the rest of the day after the Saturday afternoon disaster, which was to be reopened the following Monday. Asia Ferguson was an upcoming senior student at W.J. Keenan High School. His father said, "Teenage boys do what teenage boys do. Sometimes they make good decisions, sometimes they make bad decisions. He didn't do anything wrong. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time." Number 4. The Oakwood Theme Park. April 15th, 2004. 16-year-old Haley Williams is on vacation with her mother, 13-year-old sister, and some friends at the Oakwood Theme Park in Tenby, Wales. She was riding the Hydro Water Ride, which opened in 2002 and is known for its height, being only 34 feet shorter than Canada's largest waterfall, the Niagara Falls. Haley's mother said Haley was familiar with Hydro as she had been on it several times before, but this time in particular, she was hurtled 100 feet to the ground from the cable car right as the ride plummeted down a near vertical drop at 50 miles per hour. She suffered severe internal injuries and was airlifted to Withy Bush Hospital after park authorities called for an emergency response, but died at the hospital that same day. Another person present during the incident, named Martin Rothwell, also received minor injuries after being hit by Haley as she fell from Hydro. CCTV footage reveals that basic safety instructions were ignored by the staff that was in charge of the ride that day. A mechanical engineer also pointed out that safety of the seat was insupportable, as tests show he was able to slip out of Haley's seat even after pulling the safety bar down. The ride was closed for a year, and when it did reopen, they were required to install over-the-shoulder restraints, which are a step up from the seatbelt and lap bars, in order to add to the ride's safety. They also changed the name of the ride to Drenched. 2 years after Haley's death, the Oakwood theme park was fined £250,000 when they settled for a loss on behalf of the staff's failure to follow standard safety procedures on that fateful day. Number 3. The Battersea Fun Fair. One of the most tragic roller coaster accidents in history of Britain's amusement parks occurred at the Battersea Fun Fair in 1972. Located in London's Battersea Park, the Big Dipper opened in 1951 and was the park's main wooden roller coaster attraction. But 21 years after its opening, It claimed the lives of 5 children when the wooden train being elevated up to the start of the ride broke loose from its carrying cable and rolled backwards into the station, smashing into another waiting train. 13 others were injured in the accident as well. One particular passenger was Carolyn, a 14-year-old schoolgirl who was lucky enough to escape with minor injuries when the Big Dipper crashed. She was able to recall the entire incident, stating, "As soon as we started shooting backwards, everything went into slow motion. I turned around and saw the brakeman desperately trying to put the brake on, but it wasn't working. Most of the carriages didn't go around the bend. One detached and went off the side through a wooden hoarding. People were groaning and hanging over the edge. It was awful." The little girl sitting next to Carolyn was one of the 5 children killed in the Battersea Park. After the accident, the Big Dipper was taken apart and closed down. The fair's popularity ultimately declined quickly with the lack of a main attraction. The rest of the fair was closed 2 years later in 1974. Number 2. Expoland. May 5th, 2007. A 6-car roller coaster called Fujin Raijin 2 is derailed at the Expoland amusement park in Suita, Japan. The ride is about 130 feet high and can carry up to 24 people. Unlike most roller coasters in which you're built to sit in, the Fujin Raijin 2 was made for passengers to stand throughout the course of the ride. And on this particular day, which was in fact Children's Day in Japan, 20 passengers were on board and more than halfway along its 3,400-foot course while traveling at about 45 miles per hour when a wheel axle on one of the seats broke, sending cars flying off the tracks and battering into a nearby guardrail. A 19-year-old student was killed and 19 others were injured. Additionally, the coaster ran another 1,000 feet further before finally coming to a complete stop. According to firefighters responding to the scene, the 19-year-old student who did not survive was riding in the front left side of the second car and died instantly after her head slammed against the guardrail. Investigators later discovered that none of the ride's axles were replaced for 15 years and a broken one caused the crash. The ride's operator stated that axles were not among the parts checked regularly or monthly during their standard inspections. In fact, not one was ever changed since its first public run in March of 1992. Expoland had been accident-free for 37 years since its opening in 1970, but this deadly accident in 2007 led to its permanent closure that same year. Number 1. Galaxyland Amusement Park. Located in the world's largest indoor shopping and entertainment complex at Galaxyland Amusement Park in Alberta, Canada, is the Mindbender. This twisted roller coaster was declared one of the safest rides in the world just one day before it came crashing into a concrete pillar of the mall. The ride's layout features several twisting drops, 3 vertical loops, and a double upward helix for climax. The ride even twists around, underneath, and in between its supports. But on a late Saturday night in June of 1986, a total of 12 people were riding the roller coaster when the last of the 4-car train started fishtailing out of control while traveling at 60 miles per hour due to missing bolts on the left inside wheel mechanism. In addition, a crowd was watching a concert below as a train stalled at the top then slid backwards. It was at this point that the last car collided with the support structures and flew off the tracks. This immediately plunged 3 people to their deaths. The 4th person in the car suffered chest injuries and serious neck injuries. An Edmonton resident named Kurt said the Mindbender car came off the rails while upside down. It then threw its victims against a pole before falling about 25 feet to the ground. Mall security personnel rushed to evacuate the area and locked the park after the accident. It wasn't reopened until 7 months later, but this time with new safety features. Find out today why the water park here is the most dangerous water park in the world at theywillkillyou.com by clicking on the link in the top right corner of your screen. Here are the 5 most disastrous shipwrecks in history. These deep-sea disasters are some of the worst catastrophes you may have never heard about. Number 5. The Sultana. April 27, 1865. Steamship Sultana explodes on the Mississippi River, killing roughly 1,800 people on board, including a group of recently paroled Union prisoner of war soldiers. This incident holds the distinction of the deadliest maritime disaster in US history. However, since it happened at the tail end of the Civil War and was overshadowed by the recent assassination of Abraham Lincoln, the event is often forgotten in the annals of American history. The Sultana was just 2 years old when she was making her fateful trek from St. Louis to New Orleans. Although she was meant to carry only 376 passengers, she was carrying over 2,000 people on this particular journey as the ship's captain, J. Cass Mason, was hoping to receive bribes for returning the prisoners of war back north. During the journey, however, one of the ship's boilers sprang a leak. It therefore pulled into the harbor of Vicksburg, Mississippi in order to undergo repairs. Mason was told that in order to properly fix the boiler, it would need to be replaced, an undertaking which would last a few days. The captain knew that if that were the case, the soldiers would be sent home on different boats, costing him thousands of dollars in potential revenue. So instead, Captain Mason decided to have the boiler only partially repaired in order to finish the journey as soon as possible. Because it was already severely overloaded, the Sultana caught fire during the early morning hours of April 27th when the damaged boiler exploded. The explosion hurled many of the crew and passengers into the water, while parts of the deck collapsed and caught fire in the furnace below. Its passengers, many of whom were soldiers already weakened from their time in prison camps, tried escaping into the water, but soon found it hard to swim against the current. Thus, many of them died from either drowning or from hypothermia. Also included in the long list of deaths was Captain Mason himself. Number 4. The Danya Paz and Vector Collision. December 20th, 1987, one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history occurs when the passenger ferry Danya Paz collides with the oil tanker Vector near the Philippines' capital city of Manila. Of the estimated 4,386 people on board, only 26 survived. The Danya Paz was only supposed to hold 1,500 people, but for reasons that still remain unclear, it was carrying over 4,000 passengers and crew members on that particular voyage, many of whom were not registered passengers. Furthermore, the ship did not have nearly enough life jackets for everyone aboard, and the ones they did have were locked away. Reports also showed that the Danya Paz did not have any radios to communicate with the Coast Guard or with nearby ships in the case of an emergency. Additionally, the Vector was also said to be unfit for the sea, as it had no license or experienced captain on board. It was carrying over 8,000 barrels of oil when it collided with the Danya Paz. Based on survivors' testimonies, the crash caused pandemonium on both vessels as neither were prepared to handle an emergency. Most of the Danya Paz's crew was said to be drinking beer in their recreation cabin, while the captain was supposedly watching a movie in his own cabin. To make matters worse, the crash started a fire on board the Vector that quickly spread to the Danya Paz. Even the water near the ships ignited in flames as thousands of gallons of oil poured into the sea. As the Danya Paz's crew panicked, passengers tried escaping into the fiery waters, which were also known to be shark-infested. It took 16 hours before a rescue mission could be organized, and in the end, more than 4,000 people lost their lives. Number 3. The PS General Slocum. From 1891 until her ultimate demise in 1904, the PS General Slocum was known for her frequent mishaps. Within her first month of voyages, she ran aground and had to be rescued by tugboats. In 1984 alone, she was grounded on 3 separate occasions. Then in 1901, she collided with another ship. But on June 15, 1904, the PS General Slocum caught fire and sank in New York City's East River, killing just over 1,000 people. The ordeal stands as the worst maritime disaster in New York City's history and was the city's deadliest event up until the September 11th terrorist attacks of 2001. For most of her existence, the ship served as a passenger boat, taking people on excursions all around New York. Its last tour saw a fire start in the lamp room of the ship, which contained oily rags and straw that spread the flames around quickly. The ship's captain, Van Schaik, became aware of the fire about 10 minutes after it began, but decided not to ground the ship as he feared that doing so would spread the flames onto buildings onshore and to nearby oil tankers. By sailing into the headwinds, he unknowingly fanned the flames, spreading the fire even more. As passengers tried to escape, they drowned in the water as their heavy clothing, insufficient life vests, and inability to swim served as their own death sentence. The PS General Slocum ultimately sank in shallow waters, and when all was said and done, 1,021 people either drowned or were engulfed in the flames. There were 321 survivors total who were rescued thanks to bystanders and staff members of a nearby hospital forming a human chain and pulling passengers in from the water. Captain Van Schaik was found guilty of criminal negligence as it was discovered that he had not maintained satisfactory safety standards and that he deserted his post as captain. He spent 3.5 years in prison before he was pardoned by President Taft in 1912. Number 2. The Titanic. At the time of her sinking, the RMS Titanic was the largest cruise ship in the world and deemed unsinkable, but on April 14, 1912, it struck an iceberg and sank to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, taking the lives of roughly 1,500 passengers and crew members as she sank the next morning. The wreck occurred just 4 days into the Titanic's maiden voyage, and its ship owners were trying to see how fast she could travel in order to receive good publicity. But despite numerous warnings of icebergs, the Titanic was traveling at her maximum speed when an iceberg was spotted. She was traveling too fast to avoid the iceberg, striking it on the starboard side and tearing a series of massive holes in the ship. This caused the bottom compartments to become flooded and ultimately sink the ship. The Titanic's departure from Southampton, England on April 10, 1912 was a highly publicized event. The world had not yet seen a ship like this, as it was the most luxurious, largest, and fastest passenger ship in the world at the time. First-class passengers paid enormous sums of money to cross the Atlantic on her, which by today's standards would equate to more than $100,000. But none of that could have saved the ship from sinking. After striking the iceberg, the Titanic began sending out distress signals to nearby ships, which were initially misinterpreted. This in turn delayed their response. To compound the problem, there were not nearly enough lifeboats for all of the passengers on board, and many of the lifeboats that were lowered into the water were only half full. Meanwhile, as the ship sank, the passengers that weren't able to make it onto the lifeboats were plunged into the icy cold water, which was about 28 degrees Fahrenheit, well below freezing temperature and cold enough to cause hypothermia. Many of these passengers either drowned or died of hypothermia. It took a total of 2 hours and 40 minutes for the RMS Titanic to sink after hitting the ice, and another several hours for the Carpathia to finally arrive on the scene and rescue the remaining survivors. Number 1. The RMS Lusitania. May 7th, 1915. The RMS Lusitania is in the midst of traveling from New York to Britain when it's sunk by a missile from a German submarine off the coast of Ireland. Nearly 1,200 passengers and crew were killed during the attack, sparking an international outcry against Germany. Additionally, over 100 American lives were taken on that ship, ultimately causing the United States to join the war effort against Germany and her allies during the First World War, which claimed the lives of more than 16 million civilians and soldiers and saw the end of the German, Ottoman, and Prussian empires. Though the war had already been raging in Europe for over a year, the United States initially remained neutral. However, they had been sending war supplies to Great Britain on passenger ships such as the Lusitania, believing that the Germans wouldn't attack them. Attacks such as these would also violate international law. Germany, in the meantime, declared the waters near the United Kingdom a war zone as they were engaged in a fierce trade battle and had been using submarines to sink vessels for months. Then on May 7th, a German submarine, or U-boat as they were known, fired a missile at the Lusitania without warning, badly damaging the premier luxury passenger ship. This sparked a mysterious explosion on board, which ultimately sank her and killed 1,198 people in the process. While many passengers attempted to escape on lifeboats, the rescue effort proved to be chaotic, as lifeboats overturned and crashed onto the deck. But a handful of other lifeboats managed to remain upright and save some drowning passengers. Under international law, specifically what is known as the cruiser rules, military vessels must allow passengers and crew to safely escape their ship before sinking it. The German submarine provided no such accommodation during this attack, claiming the United Kingdom and United States had already violated international law. This event ultimately played a significant role in convincing the United States to join the war effort and was consequently instrumental in securing a victory for the Allied forces. There currently exists something worth 200 million British pounds inside the sunken Titanic, with a massive race to get to it first. Find out exactly what it is today on theywillkillyou.com by clicking on the link at the top right corner of your screen.
Here are the 10 most dangerous tourist spots you don't want to visit. You may want to think twice before heading to these locations, as they might end up being your final destination ever. Number 10. Jacob's Well. This dazzling natural swimming spot attracts thrill-seeking swimmers looking to take a dive into its bottomless black hole. Located in Wimberley, Texas,
Alright. Alright, Kojin, let's get to my favorite part of the stream. The deck review. Right out the gate here, we got... I think I already reviewed this yesterday. I already reviewed this one yesterday, Kojin. I know, but to reiterate, Ghost Trick Skeleton, Ghost Trick Jiangshi, Ghost Trick Doll, Ghost Trick Jack Frost, Ghost Trick Lantern, Ghost Trick Spectre, Ghost Trick Mary, Allure of Darkness, Ghost Trick Parade, Terraforming, Drowning Mirror Force, Ghost Trick Renovation, Ghost Trick Scare, Ghost Trick Vanish, Quaking Mirror Force, Vanity's Fiend, Foolish Burial Goods, Pot of Extravagance, Ghost Trick Angel of Mischief, Ghost Trick Alucard, Ghost Trick So Cute Boss, Ghost Trick Dullahan, Wee Winch's Apprentice, Nightmare Unicorn, Borreload Dragon, and Boral Sword Dragon. So this deck is actually pretty consistent and fitting if you want to get a little spooky up in this. And since this is the only deck I'll review and we still got some time on the clock. This here is Rye, and actually this next deck is by Rybread. And he says this is a pure Lunalights deck. Alright, so let's see what we're dealing with here. Dino Wrestler Pancratops, Lunalight Black Sheep, Lunalight Blue Cat, Lunalight Crimson Fox, Lunalight Emperor of Bird, Lunalight Kaleido Chick, Lunalight Tiger, Lunalight Wolf, Lunalight Yellow Martin, Called by the Grave, Fire Formation Tenki, Foolish Burial Goods, Lunalight Perfume, Lunalight Fusion, Polymerization, Twin Twisters, Infinite Impertinence, Lunalight Serenade Dance, Fantastical Dragon Phantasy, Lunalight White Rabbit, Lunalight Cat Dancer, Salamangrate Violet Chimera, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, Raigeki, Shared Ride, Super Polymerization, Twin Twisters, Red Reboot, Lunalight Cat Dancer, Lunalight Leo Dancer, Lunalight Panther Dancer, Lunalight Saber Dancer, Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King, Time Thief Redoer, Borload Dragon, Firefighting Darumidal, Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Unicorn, Summon Sorceress, Underclock Taker, and Wee Witch's Apprentice. And I see Josh here. What's good, Josh? Sorry I couldn't make it to your game, but hey, it is what it is. As for your deck, Rye Bread, awesome work, Rye. Keep them coming. This next one here is by also by our boy Kojin. And damn, this is a pretty fresh deck, even though I already reviewed it. Jizukiru, the Star Destroying Kaiju, Night Express Knight, Super Express Bullet Train, Heavy Freight Train Derailacane, Kumongus, the Sticky String Kaiju, Infinitrack Trencher, Flying Pegasus Railroad Stampede, Infinitrack Rock Anchor, Ash Blossom Joy Spring, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, Called by the Grave, Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, Urgent Schedule, Revolving Switchyard, Terraforming, Infinite Impertinence, Infinitrack Road Rider, Infinitrack Cancer Crane, Machine Duplication, Infinitrack Reverstorm, Infinitrack Colossal Mountain, Infinitrack Earthshaker, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Super Dora, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Rustov Max, Super Dimensional Robot Galaxy Destroyer, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Libre, Infinitrack Goliath, Doubleheader Angling Knuckle, Boral Sword Dragon, and Infinitrack Fortress Megaton Gate. This is a pretty wicked deck. And Kojin with the correct pronunciation. Thank you, as always, Kojin, for the correct pronunciation.
Checkmate, flat earthers. How? So you help animals? Well, yes, but actually no.
Here's another deck.
Things Peter have.
Oh, hold on, we got another deck by Kojin. We got another deck by my boy Kojin. Here we got Oh, something different, something new. Daddy like. Destrudo, the Lost Dragon's Fusion, Cyframe Driver, Draconet. Wait, why is the Cyverse doing here? Kojin? I assume there's an explanation as to why a Cyberse monster is in my Psychic deck. Like, I'm not one to complain, Chief, but, don't you think it's a bit much? Cyframe Gear Delta, Cyframe Gear Gamma, Flat Belt Go. Oh. Errors have been made. Cyframe Gear Alpha, Armageddon Knight, Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, Foolish Burial Goods, Cyframe Circuit, Terraforming, Reinforcement of the Army, Metaverse, Cyframe Overload, Trap Trick. And for the extra, we got F.A. Dawn Dragster, Black Rose Dragon, Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, Cyframe Lord Zeta, Borload Savage Dragon, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Oh, this is an unexpected surprise. Supreme King Dragon Clearwing. Alright. Cyberse Quantum Dragon. Cyframe Lord Omega, Crystron Needle Fiber, Cyframe Lord Lambda, and Boral Sword Dragon. Huh. This is a pretty gangsta deck, Kojin. Thanks a lot. Awesome work on this deck, Coach. Keep 'em coming. Oh, and Josh has some keks for me. Let's try it. Let's take a look.
A few months ago, I did a fact hunt episode on the top 5 offensive cheat codes. Not offensive cheats, but the actual code itself you used to enter. But while doing research for a possible follow-up episode, by which I mean stealing your suggestions in the comments, I noticed a bizarre occurrence. A lot of you weren't suggesting offensive cheat codes, but offensive passcodes. The codes used to enter into the password screen. Retro gaming's skinflint way of skimping on battery backup. Even more fascinating was it wasn't some crafty coder creating these crude keywords, but by absolute pure chance, they were rude words people had entered in for a laugh over the years, but miraculously bypassed the game's code, leading to all kinds of bizarre features. But, hello you, I'm Gorilla Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt, top 5 offensive passcodes. That all exists purely by chance.
Oh, God. This is gonna be lame. Or funny, depending on who you ask. Devil's Crush. Overgraph. Oh, it's a pinball game.
Our first entry goes to Fact Hunt's first ever PC Engine inclusion, Devil's Crush for the TurboGrafx 16. Rather than being about a girl that Satan fancies, like the title implies, Devil's Crush is actually a pinball game, where you must defeat the Dark Lord's minions from hell by constantly ramming your balls of steel into their face. And I am deeply ashamed all I could muster up was a tired old testicle reference for a pinball game. Anyhow, some genius developer at Naxat decided that a pinball game would work much better with a password system than the ability to save high scores, as that's exactly what they did. Though their bizarre decision does unintentionally allow us to discover our first offensive passcode. To get 68 balls and 497,438,600 points from the get-go, simply enter in the code arsehole fuck. Since I've
You know, I think you and I are both missing a little bit of context with that one.
already used the obligatory testicle reference for this segment, I'll refrain from further vulgarity. But if this is the last place position, you could tell we're in for a much more shocking ride.
Alright. Alright, we got Super Mario. Oh, now we're getting into the classics, baby.
Yup. The most talked about video game in history.
That's
is
why
our
I called
fourth
it a
position.
classic.
And why not? When a monarch from an alternate dimension is Reggie-snapped, who better to rescue her than a man who pulls clog bits of shit out of a toilet with his bare hands for a living?
Or with a plunger.
Now I know what you're thinking. Mario 1 and 3 doesn't have a passcode system, Larry. And well, yeah, you're right. I'm actually cheating here and including a Game Genie code on this one. The magical cheat device that allows you to enter 3 codes, hence why it's called a genie, into any NES system, while encroaching the wrath of Nintendo's lawyers at the same time. Anyhow, all you need to do is enter the code GAYSUCK.
Let it go, John. We got better things to do.
Unfortunately, this code is a bit crap in all honesty, as all it does in Mario 1 is have a Wile E. Coyote-esque gravity delay if you run off an edge.
First Looney Tunes reference we've ever heard in Spurred games.
And in Mario 3, all question mark blocks remain active, even if there's nothing inside them anymore. But if you're into inadvertently homophobic codes on patent-infringing British-developed cheat cartridges, then look no further.
Oh, it's a game based off of a movie. Imagine my shock.
In Jurassic Park, a fantastic lark where there's dinosaurs and stuff. Oh, good old Jurassic Park games, eh? The exciting 90s video game adaptation where you hunt down more predators than Chris Hansen in the Vatican. Now, I don't know what it is about Jurassic Park games and their consistency of containing offensive material in its code, as this is actually the second time it's appeared on a Fact Hunt episode for that sole reason. And Sega's Mega Drive port has not one, but 2 offensive passcodes discovered by chance. The first brewed passcode on our list lets you skip to level 8, simply by entering in arsehole. Yeah, alright. We've already had one arsehole on our list, and I don't mean my obligatory Peter Molyneux reference each episode, so it won't count that one. But our true offensive code for this segment lets you skip to the final level by typing in cunt PJ.
That moment when you realize you should have set your stream to adult only.
Now, I don't know who this PJ is, nor what they did to warrant such abuse. But entering this accusation also gives you the cryptic message of the raptors in the main hall have a bone to pick with you. Now, how's that for a chaos theory?
Metal Gear.
Audio. However, all said and done, Metal Gear's password system is truly a work of wonderment, as rather than using programmer-created codes to unlock progression, it essentially converts letters and numbers into binary codes, which in turn switch on and off areas, items, weapons, and sequences. So it's essentially rudimentary programming. And by some unholy alignment of the planets, or just pure amazing chance, the placement of the letters F, U, C, and K will always drop you right before the big boss fight near the end of the game, with various different items. For starters, we have Metal Gear's most well-known password, the infamous Fuck Me code, which leaves Snake armed with nothing more than a packet of cigarettes, essentially making the game impossible to progress any further. Secondly, we have the lesser-known code of Fuck You OK Juan Carlo. OK, it's a little more convoluted, thanks to the additional consonants, but this code gives you missiles, grenades, a rocket launcher, and a ton of other items. But in terms of sheer aggressive offensiveness, second place must go to the motherfucking Shithead 2. While giving you less weaponry than the Juan Carlo version, it does supply you with additional mines and more keycards. Though, as you're right near the end of the game, they're ultimately pointless. Needless to say, These codes only work with the original North American version of the game. By the time the European version was eventually released, the Fuck Me code was prevalent in American playgrounds. So, a little known fact about Metal Gear was that it was solely responsible for all future European and US passworded games to drop vowels from their codes, including Metal Gear's US release a year later. So you could say it led to a massive vowel movement.
Oh my god. That was the worst pun ever.
I'll get the code.
Number 1 is
Yeah, alright. Hardcore fans probably saw this coming a mile off, mainly as it's the only famous code I've yet to mention. But I decided to put Metroid in the top slot simply because of the lesser known fact it's the first code I've ever seen that's so offensive it can literally damage your console's hardware. Now, Metroid may be treated as the gingerhead stepchild of Nintendo properties in this day and age, being palmed off to third-party developers to completely arse it up. But in the 8 and 16-bit days, the Adventures of Samus was a strong part of the Holy Trilogy. The adventures of a bounty huntress looking for space jellyfish was top priority for the must-buy lists of 80s Nintendo enthusiasts. And the fact Samus was revealed to be a
woman character.
Yes, thank you, Andrew, was quite groundbreaking at the time. Except, that's a load of old bollocks games journalists made up. If anyone was really that excited about Samus's reveal, it was more because you weren't playing as a bloody Rambo clone in an 80s console game for once. But thanks to Nintendo's tightness of not including battery backup in the Western release, we instead have a passcode system that is gloriously open to abuse. Now, like Metal Gear, Metroid's password system is more computer code than actual passwords. Each individual letter and number unlocks specific zones, weapons, and passwords again. But unlike Metal Gear, it was quickly pieced together from the original Famicom Disk version, replacing its battery backup saving with a system that by total chance allows even more elaborate combinations of letters to create working codes. For instance, one of the most famous codes of all time was created when some kid called Justin Bailey decided to enter his own name into the password screen one day, and discovered that it not only unlocks the majority of the items in the game, but also placed Samus in a rather fetching purple leotard. There's the infamous Narpa sword code that, by total chance, actually unlocks the debug mode of the game with infinite health, weapons, etc. Though rumour has it that Narpa's sword is actually NAR password, with NAR meaning North American release. But since the code is exactly the same in a European version, it's debatable. But there's also lesser known codes discovered by people, such as Continue My Game mini-boss, which gives you 200 missiles, 3 energy tanks, the majority of all the upgrades, and the gateway to Torian is open. Anime fans discovered entering Dragon Ball Z would start you off in Norfair in Samus's Zero suit. 152 missiles, 5 energy tanks, but only 30 units of energy. It's also the first code on this list that drastically affects the game's code, as there's no music in the game until Samus grabs a power-up, and the Various suit isn't even in the game at all. And of course, this wouldn't be the internet unless someone tried entering various memes into the code over the years. And by pure luck, entering the legendary all your base phrase, "Someone set up us the bomb," gives you a Zero suit Samus, 6 energy tanks, and 219 missiles. But even the most delicate of snowflakes wouldn't be triggered by these codes. Where's the offensive ones, Larry? Well, upon doing research for this segment, aside from the obvious coming up, there's also another lesser known offensive passcode for Metroid in the form of Mother Brain? Fucking toast. Which does indeed start you off with Mother Brain already dead, as well as starting you in the Zero suit with 156 missiles, 5 energy tanks, and in Torian. So finally, without further ado, Number 1 goes to the code everyone's been waiting for, Engage Ridley, motherfucker. Now, compared to the previous entries in our list, it's pretty tame. But what lies behind it is truly fascinating. First of all, the game has you clocked in for 2,755,656 hours of game time, which already sounds like a lot, but it actually equates to playing the game non-stop for 314 years. And ironically, you can't ever engage Ridley as he's the only boss that's actually been defeated. But the game trying to keep track of your progress for over 3 centuries confuses the code so much, you not only start the game in a wall of graphical garbage, but also the game no longer scrolls and you can't turn into a morph ball. And depending on which version of the NES you have, it will not only crash your console to a black screen, but even completely fry the game's cartridge. Even worse, if you own the Virtual Console port for the 3DS, which is quite likely as Nintendo gave it away for free a few years ago, entering Engage Ridley motherfucker into that version will completely brick the system. Thankfully, updates to the system will merely leave it crashing your 3DS, but if you've never updated your system when you do this trick, you're gonna have a bad day. So there you have it. A passcode that's not only offensive to your human eyeballs, but also to your consoles themselves.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just
In all my
processing
years,
what
I've never seen
Larry
such a
here
simple
just said.
phrase do so much damage. So, offend with caution.
Still, for a bounty hunter, Samus looks kind of good. At least, that's what I hear.
Oh, and there's also the code, Fuck You Ridley. What is it with the word fuck that unlocks so much stuff in these games? Hello, you. Thanks ever so much for watching.
Dunno.
Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future Fact Hunt episodes.
You gotta
Click on the
admit,
bell if you're
you gotta
already
admit,
to make
Josh,
sure you're notified. And be
you
sure
may have
to
a
check
foot
out my
fetish,
other
dude, but
episodes.
when it comes to
if you want
Samus,
be
you'd
super
probably tap
awesome,
that in a
check out my
heartbeat.
Patreon. But thanks again
Blonde
for watching.
hair,
and
smoking
I'll
hot
see you
bod.
next time. Ta-ra for now.
Oh gosh.
Pre-order the official Fact Hunt book from Unbound.com today. But
Alright.
seriously,
Maybe if she didn't kill me first.
good old Easter eggs. Those cheeky little meta marvels that programmers have been sticking in games since their very inception. However, as entertaining and rewarding it is discovering them, sometimes these eggs can turn out to be rotten, containing all kinds of shocking and disturbing secrets. So, considering I've already covered offensive cheat codes and offensive passcodes, why not milk it further and cover offensive Easter eggs too? So this episode, I take a look at these sinister secrets, these formidable furtives, and his repugnant reticence, as I say, but
hello you. I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt. Top 5 offensive Easter eggs.
what are you doing here? Get off my show!
But Easter eggs are my shtick. You'll just watch mojoing me here.
Oh, that's just cold, James.
Yikes! Allow me. Yikes! Alright, final fight. Commodore Amiga. Let's go. Wait, they actually had a...
For such a well-loved legendary title, it's amazing no one has ever really mentioned this alarming Easter egg in Final Fight before. Now, long-time fans of Fact Hunt may remember Richard Mad as a Hatter Applin appearing in a few of my early episodes, an extremely talented programmer who was rather infamous for hiding diary-long diatribes in his code. I've already spoken about his lengthy rant in the Amiga version of Final Fight in a previous episode, as well as his rather amusing blog that appears on screen when you enter a cheat code. But what I didn't happen to mention was that Richard also felt the need to crudely expand on the Capcom universe lore in his own rather comical way, which Yoshinori Ono is actually making canon as we speak.
What?
Google it. Anyhow, to activate this egg, all you need to do is tap the help key 5 times as soon as Hagar turns on the television during the opening cutscene. Then simply finish the game as normal to reveal an extended ending, explaining what happened to Cody and co following the events of Final Fight. Life of Guy. Guy died April 5th, 2028. After a youth filled with unlikely fighting exploits, Guy settled down to a normal life as an insurance loss adjuster. He married a 24-stone traffic warden and died in his armchair, aged 65. Life of Cody. Cody died February 14th, 1996. He married Jessica, but divorced 8 months later due to his drink problem. Died at 29 after tripping when drunk and falling headfirst into a sewer. Life of Hagar. Hagar died January 5th, 1998. Left the office of mayor in disgrace after a cocaine scandal, and 2 years later was convicted of sheep murder.
That's a thing?
Died at 55 after catching a nasty disease from a dirty telephone. And people wonder why Capcom have never included Hagar in Street Fighter.
Yeah, you might want to sit down for this one. And here, Larry, you might want to sit down for this one, Chief, because he was actually in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
By eerie coincidence, Cody becoming an alcoholic is also the plotline to Capcom's rather disastrous Xbox and PS2 game, Final Fight Streetwise. But, needless to say, it's an Easter egg Capcom have never been informed of. Well, until one of you lot retweet this video to them, anyway.
Don't on me. Cannon Fodder, Commodore Amiga. Oh, brother.
War has never been so much fun, according to the game's intro song. And if the tactical slaughter of Lego men in various remote locations is your cup of tea, then Cannon Fodder will be right up your action RTS alley. Anyhow, developer Sensible Software's schoolboy humour thought it was rather funny that their game was being published by Virgin Interactive, so ever so slightly doctored their logo during the opening splash screen. Now, normally you wouldn't be able to see it while playing the game, but look into the game's code and find the image, then set colour palette entry 31 from black to white. And you get this rather smutty message.
Top gag, boys.
But if you thought the boys at Sensi stopped there, then think again. Complete the game and you're presented with a lovely monochrome image of the team, giving rather cryptic messages. If you haven't figured it out already, piece together the first letter of every word. Yep, for all the lengths you went to into buying their game and all that time and effort into finishing it, they congratulate you with a glorious
non-existent.
Fuck you.
Love you too, boys. Josh says, context, non-existent. Oh, guys.
In the days before one-on-one beat-em-ups were wanting to be Street Fighter knockoffs, they were endlessly plagiarising Data East's Karate Champ instead, such as Melbourne House's Way of the Exploding Fist. It was a pretty decent fighter for its time that magazines raved over. But despite how good it was, Way of the Exploding Fist will probably go down in history as the only game endorsed by a celebrity sportsman have their name taken off the title on account of no one knowing who the fuck they were. Anyhow, this offensive Easter egg is found in its rather disappointing sequel, Fist 2, The Legend Continues. I suppose calling it Fist 2, Fist Harder would have been a bit on the nose. Which dumped everything that made the original great and turned it into a boring scrolling adventure where you go around beating
Since I can't help myself since you mentioned Marvel
But
Infinite.
in the two-player training mode, some sneaky fella decided to be a jolly idea to hide an image of a naked woman in the fauna. Thanks to the Specky's rather limited colour palette, it is rather hard to see, which is probably why no one noticed it for years. So let me make it a little bit clearer for you here. Nothing sneakier than adding in a bit of 8-bit pixelated porn in your software. is
Subtle,
there?
boys, subtle. Clap, clap. Number 2. Wait, what? Oh, come on, Nintendo. I thought you guys were for kids.
A Nintendo game on a list of offensive Easter eggs, Larry? Why, yes indeedy. Even the squeaky clean persona of the almighty N isn't totally innocent from some shady secrets. And Kirby's Dream Land 2 on the Game Boy is a perfect example of this. Now, if the adventures of a shaven testicle that goes around sucking off anything in its vicinity isn't already a massive entendre, if you travel to level 5-5, you'll see this. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's so offensive about that? It's just a standard Kirby level. However, if you went to the lengths of taking screen grabs of this section and then pasting them all together, you get a crudely drawn image of a naked woman. Alright, you need to be particularly weird to get off something so poorly drawn, but the fact this went past Nintendo's censors during the height of their PG crusade is rather surprising.
I'm not even mad. Dynamite ducks.
The world wasn't exactly screaming out for a scrolling brawler starring anthropomorphic mallards and Colonel Sanders, for some reason, when Sega released Dynamite Ducks in 1988, which is probably why they've never really bothered with it since. But for a scrolling beat-em-up starring two bestiality-obsessed cuckold ducks who share a human girlfriend and assault local wildlife, you'd think this game would be offensive enough. However, developers Core Design, probably best known for making the original Tomb Raider games, thought they'd up the trigger factor when they added a rather crude Easter egg to the Commodore Amiga and Atari ST versions of the game.
Alright.
Rumours at the time had circulated that there was an abhorrent Easter egg in the game, but as with most gossip, it was never explained how to actually do it. But this is where the story goes completely dopey. One hacker broke into the game's code to discover if it was true, and upon discovering alternate sprites for the egg, was amazed to find out it was. However, they seem to have been confused by some cryptic wording in the game's code, and confused it for a milder Easter egg found much later in the game. In case you are wondering what that was, typing nude during the bonus level has all the ring bunnies expose their breasts. A crude Easter egg, yes, but not quite the infamous one. So, whoever this hacker was wanted to get their name immortalised in magazines and submitted it to their cheats page. But amazingly, not one single magazine ever bothered to check if the code actually worked. In fact, even to this very day, gaming websites are still posting this false code as real. So, through this bizarre combination of events, for 30 years the world believed that this code was fake, even though it partially wasn't. But now for some good news. Thanks to the help of my good friend Ian from CodeTapper.com, we can not only prove that this Easter egg does exist, but for the first time ever, actually tell you how to finally unlock it. Now, if you play the game normally, or attempted to enter the fake cheat codes into the game, upon starting the game, you'll see this rather standard intro of Lucy being kidnapped and the two ducks going into a door to rescue her. However, if one happened to load the game into a hex editor, look for the line, "If you want to see something dirty, put code here," and simply replace the 5 dots with the word dirty. Yeah, I know it's not much of a hidden passcode. But for your reward, you'll be able to see this erogenous egg in all its filthy glory.
Oh god.
One day, Lucy was playing with herself, while Bin and Pin were buggering each other in the beautiful flower garden. Then suddenly, an evil black pimp appeared and changed into some kinky leather gear while they were watching. Lucy startled and orgasmed at the size of his miracle balls, and disappeared with the pimp to his sleazy brothel. Therefore, Bin and Pin stopped giving each other one and ventured into the brothel, not wanting to miss out.
Are you kidding me?
So, there you have it. conclusive proof that an Easter egg everyone believed was fake for nearly 3 decades was not only true, but
What
little
the
programming knowledge can easily be accessed. Who knows what other games out there contain similar sinister secrets? Hello you. Thanks ever so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future Fact Hunt episodes. Click on the bell if you already are to make sure. Have you ever sat back and thought, why do game developers spend years on a game fully aware that it's not very good? I certainly have, to the point I've lost all my friends from constantly bringing it up in conversation.
I'm gonna need to step out for a bit. Damn it, Josh. You actually broke my mind. This is my brain right now. No, you're not sorry, Josh. You're far from sorry, man. You did that on purpose. You're trying to break my mind. You know what? I need an air cleanser.
Done to help animals. Wow, look, nothing.
Look.
Peter come to Nebraska and bought a bunch of our live lobsters and freed them onto the Missouri River. The Missouri River is fresh water. Lobsters are salt water. Yeah, they died. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Can I get you some tap water? Kim Jong-un? Now got my first intercontinental ballistic missile working. Where should I send my first nuke? United States of America 15%. Japan 4%. P2 headquarters 68%. Pyongyang 13%. Peter doesn't like it when we eat meat, because we're stealing their kills. Steve Irwin was a hero who promoted environmentalism and fought against illegal poaching. Peter, so what? I don't care. Officialize P2 as a hate group or bring Peter back to its original idea. I am so proud of this community. Americans when the trees start speaking Vietnamese. Russians when the snow starts speaking Finnish. Everyone when Peter tweets that Steve Irwin should not be remembered as a hero. Everybody. Fuck Peter. Everybody, pure poetry. Apple proposes 13 new emoji to represent people with disabilities. Are there animal rights organizations,
No.
Peter? Actually working to save animals. Disrespecting Steve Irwin? Peter. When you see Peter's tweet about Steve Irwin. When you see all the backlash Peter is receiving because everyone loves Steve Irwin and he did nothing wrong. Peter when animal abusers set up dog fights. Peter when Chrome changes its logo to honor Steve Irwin.
Josh, I need an
Steve
ear
Irwin
cleanser.
was killed while harassing a ray.
This is
He
my ear
dangled his
cleansing
baby
right now.
while feeding a crocodile and wrestled wild animals who were minding their own business. Google Doodle
Well,
sends a
I'm gonna need an
dangerous
ear
warning
cleanser
message.
and
Wild
some
animals
text
are
to work
entitled
on.
to be left
So
alone
huge
in
shout
their
out to Chris
natural
from Master
habitats.
Arts.
You're like the kid who wasn't invited to the party but came anyway and shat in the pool just to get a reaction. Carefully, he's a hero. Furries, gamers, weebs, normies, animal lovers, everyone else. Hating Peter's tweet insulting Tev Irwin. Peter talks shit about Tev Irwin on his birthday. The internet. Charging up, Nayum. Steve Irwin was killed while harassing a ray. He dangled his baby while feeding a crocodile and wrestled wild animals who were minding their own business. Google Doodle sends a dangerous warning message. Wild animals are entitled to be left alone in their natural habitats. Fuck you, bitch, why you always got something negative to say? Peter, animals.
What the heck?
Animals are entitled to be left alone.
What's this?
Peter, Steve
review?
Irwin.
Yeah,
Am I
thank you.
really going to defile this grave for money? Peter, Steve Irwin. Of course I am. We need a hell meme just like we have a heaven meme to welcome all the evil
Boy.
memes like Peter and YouTube Rewind 18. Peter is kind. To give us some examples of what it means being a hypocrite and a retard. Talking shit about Steve Irwin is now illegal. Useless things in the world. I have finally found it after 15 years. The Scroll of Truth. Peter has killed more animals than Steve Irwin. Nay, it's my cake day. Peter talks shit about Steve Irwin. Realizing no one will notice, it's my cake day now. Laugh away the pain now. Let's put you outside, little guy. All life is precious. I liked Peter's Steve Irwin tweet. Stephen Hildenburg should not be remembered.
Have you? Fooling the owners into assuming their consoles are inferior, thus enticing them even further into believing that if they want the true Donkey Kong experience, they need to buy a ColecoVision. It sounds absolutely scummy, doesn't it? But true to their word, the rival ports were completely dire. For instance, the 2600 port makes Donkey Kong look like a depressed gingerbread man who throws cookies at you while guarding Lisa Simpson. And the Intellivision version manages to look even worse, with a giant booger lobbing cheese wheels at you instead. And if making the graphics look terrible wasn't bad enough, they only ported 2 levels of the arcade game to each system. The first level, and that one with the weird ghost things. Then, the icing on this crappy cake, they refused to make an Atari 5200 port to the game due to it having similar components to the ColecoVision, and knowing full damn well they'd be called out on this scam if they did. And you want to hear the most shocking thing of all? Coleco totally got away with it too. After release, Coleco managed to sell a whopping 6 million copies of the game across all systems. An unprecedented number at the time, and pretty impressive even by today's standards. Their sales doubled to $500 million, and their earnings quadrupled to $40 million. Of course, over the intervening decades, talented programmers have proven both the Atari 2600 and the Intellivision were both more than capable of making pretty decent ports of Donkey Kong with their homebrew ports. But you got to give Coleco credit for such a devious way to make their console look superior. Bastards. So, why on earth did Ubisoft purposely make Watch Dogs so terrible? What on earth is going on here? Well, this time, it all boils down to good old money. As infusing this barbaric ritual into an ageless tale of French Americans pretending to be Scottish, and Scotsmen pretending to be Spaniards.
I'm not Spanish, I'm Egyptian.
But, as with a lot of other 80s movie licenses, Connor McLeod's adventures in head dismemberment and infertility proved too much of a temptation for old Mercurian chums at Ocean, who quickly snapped up the rights for the 8-bit home computers. Now, picking up licenses back in the 80s usually revolved around paying the licensee a small upfront fee. Then the rest would be paid in percentage of the royalties. Unfortunately, Ocean's contract negotiator was a bit dippy the day they signed. Everyone hated it. And with magazines like Zap64 rating it a lowly 30%, Highlander never entered the top 20 charts, thus ultimately Ocean dodging a bullet. Sadly, the same can't be said about the Highlander movie sequels. Those were rubbish, down to good old incompetence. Name, but he was responsible for the development of Sega's classic Virtua Fighter. Atari had headhunted him upon finishing his work and offered him vast amounts of money, staff and resources if he could do the same magic for Atari as he did for Sega. Though while Bertrand took them up on the offer, Atari didn't exactly keep to their side of the bargain. He was forever being fobbed off with excuses and completely destroying creativity for the sake of their egotistical image. One needs to look no further than Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Yeah. Yep. And Josh, I actually had the patience to sit through the story mode of this AIDS of a game. And get all the DLC. Yes, I had to get Sigma, Black Panther, Monster Hunter, Venom, Black Widow, and Winter Soldier. Josh, you don't know the patience I have, my boy.
When Capcom first started collaborating with Marvel on fighting games way back in 1994 with X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel was a very different operation. A comic book company on the verge of bankruptcy, who were more than happy to let Capcom take the reins, which is clearly evident by the obscure characters appearing like the Silver Samurai to appeal to their Japanese audience. However, since their acquisition by Disney in 2009, Marvel has severely pulled back creative control and let their marketing team have final say. You can see early cracks of this in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and the inclusion of Super Skrull in lieu of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Josh, you have a wrench, and at the end of this video, maybe you should put it in.
Capcom tried to spin it that it was to save money and character slots, but it was later revealed that Disney denied them permission. This was all down to Disney's very public war with Fox over them obtaining perpetual movie rights and refusing to allow them. This is especially heartbreaking for MVC fans, as Wolverine has been a staple of the Marvel-Capcom collaboration since Mutant Apocalypse on the back got on face for people who grew up with the series.
Yeah, way to go, fuck. Way to go, Disney. You deep. Thank you, Josh. Let's take a look. And I actually also And also, I actually picked the voice actors myself. For instance, for the finale, I picked David Kaye as Gren and Frank Welker, the voice of Megatron, as Grapha. See, this is what happens when you small brain companies fight amongst yourselves. Your fans show you up.
Now, before you all ask, those ugly Capcom characters, were they purposely nerfed at Disney's request to make their characters look superior, as told by the ex-employee whistleblower on Reddit? Well, as much as it would be a great way to end this episode, the answer is a resounding no. As evident by the fact the recent update made them all look far more on model. So that piece of drama was all simply down to Capcom hiring crap artists. Thanks, Capcom. Crapcom. Hello, you.
Yeah. And again, Josh, I actually had the patience to sit through the story mode of that game. And while it was fun and David Kaye did do a bang-up job as Jeddah, I would not want to sit through that experience again. Just, oh my god. I want to pretend that whole game never happened and just do my own little crossover. Anyway, back to my, Yeah, thanks for understanding. But before we move on and get to building some decks, I'm gonna need to lay a powwow with y'all. Figured no time like the present. Well, my folks were to go to Spain in a couple of weeks. My folks were to go to Spain next week. But at the 11th hour, my dad, idiotically, I may add, canceled the trip because of my mom's bad leg. Needless to say, I was not very happy about this turn of events. Actually, that's putting it absolutely mildly. I was absolutely infuriated. I mean, I get that the manlet's heart was in the right place, but I doubt I can say the same for his brain. Let's take a jab at the big N.
Text to meme. Nintendo Switch, the Wii U, without the Wii U. Unity, PS4, La, Nintendo Switch, you're with him. Alright, gentlemen, the Wii U didn't sell as well as we had hoped, we need a new console. Let's use this new poison developed by the organization. Anyway, they won't be able to find any traces of poison. Dark Souls Remastered.
Well, hey, don't worry. Hey, don't worry, Josh. I usually end close to midnight. We still got like 30 minutes left. I usually end around midnight or close to midnight if it's before the banana, that means we got plenty of time to kill. Okay? Alright, let's take a look at this little number. Alien Storm. Don't know what that is. Oh, wow. Oh, I remember.
Let's face it, games are getting easier. It could be argued that it's down to games being more narrative driven and online focused than the original arcade mentality of constantly trying to nickel and dime you. But every now and then, a game developer will make a game so hard it's literally impossible to beat. Not because they want to give you a challenge, oh no siree, but because of more underhanded reasons. So this episode is dedicated to devs' douchebaggery of making you think the game's impossibly tough, when in truth, they just couldn't be asked to finish it. But, hello you, I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt, 5 purposely broken, unbeatable games by dickish developers. Yes, I know it's a convoluted name, but you try and come up with a more clickbaity title to describe this episode.
You got me there. Smash TV? Huh.
1990 was the year arcade manufacturers Midway were heralded for their amazing ability to remake Robotron with slightly nicer graphics and still Robocop quotes with Smash TV. But the big carrot on a stick for the game was it constantly telling you to see the true ending to the game, you needed to collect enough keys to enter the Pleasure Dome. Thing is, there was no Pleasure Dome. They made the whole thing up. So, no matter how many keys you've collected, you're never able to reach it because it doesn't exist. Midway created Smash TV to be a cash guzzler, intentionally making the game so hard that they never expected anyone to actually beat the game, let alone be good enough to get to said Pleasure Dome. So Midway didn't bother programming the true ending to Smash TV as they thought no one would ever be good enough to see it.
As much as I have mad respect for Boone and the Mad Lads at NetherRealm, that was a jerk move. And it's an even more of a jerk move if they don't add Melina to Mortal Frickin' Kombat 11, which in turn will make Kojin extremely angry. And as we've shown in episodes past, you don't want to make a Kang angry. They get extremely violent. Even murderous, if legend is to be believed.
However, after mass complaints from hardcore gamers and arcade owners who had mastered the game, Midway shipped out revisions of the game with the Pleasure Dome included, where you can now win a lifetime supply of women.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, shut up, you twat.
Yeah, okay. Gladiator and... I'm not gonna even bother to pronounce that. And the hell is this noise?
Speaking of arcade games, and a totally obscure one at that, our next entry goes to the ZX Spectrum port of the little-known Taito arcade game Gladiator, or Great Gorianos as it had to be renamed, due to somebody else already creating a Spectrum game called Gladiator. Such an original name. Great Gorianos was a pretty crap beaten up in all fairness. So much so that a game about gladiatorial combat has a picture of a Viking on the title screen
Bruh.
instead. And yes, that is the David Perry who coded it. Anyhow, the problem with Gladiator was it had to be programmed in just 48k of space in order to maximise sales for the scummy plebs who are too tight to upgrade to a 128k Spectrum. So porting an arcade game many
Taito is
times
the same
that
company
size meant
behind
some
Bobble
things had to
Bobble.
be scrapped.
Oh, I didn't know
And in
that.
Great Gorianos' case, it was removing the ending. Yes, the ending. So, how did they make sure no one could ever beat the game? Well, they made the final boss invincible. Yep, you can wail on old Skeletor here all day long and you'll never be able to kill him. Though technically you couldn't anyway, because he's a skeleton. You can obviously hack the game to make the final boss killable, but for your rewards, the game will just crash afterwards instead. That'll teach you to cheat.
Rules for thee, but not for me. Only very. More move, creep.
Ask any British gamer from the 80s what their favourite games from the time were, and you'll definitely hear Robocop among their lists. The Adventures of Cyborg Jesus made for an awesomely violent video game, and was so successful it spawned 16-bit ports, which themselves spawned an arcade game. But Robocop even has the record for being the longest ever video game to stay in the top 20 charts, a whopping 5 years. And even then it was only knocked out as they discontinued the 8-bit charts. Also, that bloody title screen music, which you're listening to now, has become legendary over the years. It's been used in countless other medium, from internet memes to TV adverts.
And Ariston.
And it's still stuck in my head after all these years. But as great as Robocop was, sadly, it seems that all multi-format ports always have to include one clunker among them, and this time it was a Commodore 64 port. For whatever reason, Ocean made a completely different version to all the other formats, and then made it unfairly tough. But worst of all, there was a major bug on the 4th level that turned the whole game into unplayable graphical garbage. Not that anyone could get that far. You see, rather than delay the Commodore 64 release and fix this game-breaking bug, Ocean decided to go the extra mile of dickishness and put a time limit on the previous level that's so tight, it's literally impossible to complete the level in time. Well,
Damn it, Ocean.
impossible to beat the level legitimately, that is. You see, there's a certain wall in the level that you can glitch through by continuously standing and crouching in front of it, skipping the majority of the area. So you can see the next round in all its unfinished, buggy glory. And true to Ocean's normal form, they never resolved this either. In fact, it wouldn't be for another 20 years before fans themselves finally fixed the code to make the game actually playable. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be the last time Ocean would pull this scummy stunt. Try saying that 5 times quickly.
Nope. Dennis the Menace. Oh, crap.
Dennis the Menace, just called Dennis in the UK to avoid confusion with a certain British spiky-haired comic character of the same name, was based on the 1993 movie starring Walter Matthau, Doc Brown, that bloke out the PlayStation 1 adverts, and some kid who went on to do nothing. Not even the sequels. But our old friends at Ocean again found this blatant Home Alone fan cash-in irresistible, so snapped up the game rights, whether it would make a good game or not. And well, it didn't, as it only got 25% in Amiga Format's review. Anyhow, while focusing on developing the Super Nintendo version, they ran out of time developing the Amiga incarnation, which was to coincide with the VHS rental release of the movie. They had most of the game complete, They were just missing the final boss and the ending. So rather than delay the Amiga version to add them in, they purposely put in a jump that was impossible to make on the final level instead, making the game completely unbeatable.
Boy!
Yep, Ocean decided to be extra dickish and make a game you'd slog through for hours impossible to beat, simply because they ran out of time to finish it. Well, that's what they knew no one gave a shit about the Amiga by 1993, so shoved it out the door, assuming no one would buy the bloody thing anyway. On the plus side, this issue only seems to be with the Amiga A500 release of the game. The AGA and CD32 versions of the Amiga ports do not have the unjumpable pit, though they still couldn't be asked to put in a decent ending. And let's end our episode with quite possibly the most recent game, well, ever, on Fact Hunt. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 for both the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. A game with so much cut content, even Bam Margera didn't even make it to the final entry. Though in all fairness, the fucker's put on so much weight now, Activision probably mistook him for his dad. Now it's obvious that a game so anemic will probably end up on a Fact Hunt episode someday, but you seriously wouldn't believe how much actually is missing. As soon as you pop the disc into your machine, you're treated to a lovely 7.7GB patch for the game. Except, that isn't a patch, it's the rest of the game. The actual disc itself only contains a tutorial. Why? Well, back in 2000, people loved the Tony Hawk series so much that Activision bought the rights to make sequels for the next 15 years. But a decade and a half is an eternity in video games, and in the intervening years, both Activision and gamers alike found babysitting mouthy 12-year-olds in Call of Duty far more entertaining than kicking up ollies on a plank of wood in a game that's endorsed by someone who now looks like your dad. Roll on 2015, and Activision noticed they had paid for something they hadn't touched in years. So desperate to cash in on this imminently expiring property, they quickly cobbled together a game from the remnants of the 2012 Xbox Live Tony Hawk HD game, and released it on the very final day they owned the rights to it. Now obviously, a game needs to be ready several weeks ahead of its actual release date in order to manufacture discs, distribute them, etc. It's just with such a tight, unmovable deadline, the game wouldn't be ready in time by then. So in order to physically make a retail disc copy, they just slap the finished portions of the tutorial on the disc and use the remaining weeks to actually finish the game. Just disguise it as an update patch. A huge 7.7GB update patch. Now you're probably saying, so what's the problem, Larry? You're getting the whole game still. And, well, that's true. But anyone who owns a PS4 or Xbox One who can't or won't connect the system online, and I don't know why you wouldn't, is essentially paying full price for less content than you'll get in a bleeding demo. Activision legally aren't allowed to issue a second printing of the disc with a full game included either, because they've lost a license. So one day in the future, when the servers are long gone, all these neo-retro game collectors out there who buy Tony Hawk 5 off eBay are essentially buying an interactive drinks coaster. Though, in all fairness, the game is complete arse candle anyway. So, in this case, less is more. Hello, you.
I suppose he's right. Yeah, this means no Tony Hawk games in the near future. Yeah, real big brain move, Activision. Yeah, real big brain move for an army of dum-dums. But anyway, let's get back to the decks. And the memes.
Nintendo, please, these are just from Switch games. I need to breathe. Y'all are making me sweat.
Alright, kiss, marry, or kill. God damn it, Nintendo. Why do you always have to make your women so friggin' hot?
Nintendo Swiss. Alright, what game should Nintendo make next? A game about arms. Something with cardboard. Melee HD.
No.
PSP. The original Nintendo Switch.
I'm surprised Sony didn't take Nintendo to court over this.
Nintendo. We purposely made our cartridges taste horrible so nobody puts them near their mouth. Everyone. Mom said to go play outside. A closer look at the Nintendo Switch game cartridges. Every Nintendo home console, since the GameCube, has used discs, but the Switch is breaking that trend. I'm gonna eat the new Zelda. Yes, Nintendo Switch cartridges taste terrible. Nintendo Switch cartridges taste so bad. People are reviewing the Nintendo Switch games, and they apparently taste terrible. Never mind. $300 on actual games, or $300 on Nintendo's latest gimmick. Partners last for 2 months, will mostly give us 5-year-old ports like Skyrim or the most hip ones from the year prior like DS3, then fuck off as usual just like every other generation. But look, there are so many. Impressive, huh? Nintendo Switch just came in the mail.
It's just an iPad with a Wiimote and a nunchuck, idiot.
Nintendo Switch. Skyrim. Not today, old friend. Behold the Nintendo Switch.
That's the Neo Geo Gold.
I made this. You made this? I made this. I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. I need it. 1997. Geez. Nintendo console is so expensive. 2017. Geez. Nintendo's console is so underpowered. Animator. Please, I'm tired, and I just want to go home. Nintendo. Make Mario have individual hairs and paws.
Why is Skyrim still so popular?
Available November 16th,
Don't look at me,
2018.
Josh.
Pokemon EE. Pokemon Despacito. Nintendo Switch. PlayStation Swap. Xbox Shift. Nintendo has its new solution for Switch voice chat. Yamauchi. This is my final console. Already got the new Nintendo Switch. I have a console. I have a portable. Ugh. Oh boo-hoo, let me play a game with the world's smallest console controller. Yeah, I heard Nintendo got that hot new thing. It's called Switch. The Switch is Nintendo's first portable console. Me, an intellectual. Retweet if you think the girl on the left is just as beautiful as the girl on the right. Nintendo. We decided to add a bad taste to our cartridges, so people will think twice before putting them near their mouths. People. Why be slick when you can be thick? Dark Souls release May 25th, 2018. My Switch May 26th, 2018. Joy-Con left. Joy-Con right. That's suspicious. When you tell everyone that Smash on the Switch won't be announced on the Nintendo Direct to try and sound smart, but then it actually does. Epic fail. Nintendo's new Switch console breaks instantly if you run over it with your car. Well, folks, it looks like Nintendo may have another wet fart of a console on their hands, if our early tests are any indication. When we first saw this rumor floating around on Reddit, we had to look into it ourselves, and I'm sad to say it's completely true. The Nintendo Switch instantly shatters if you run over it with your car. Just showing up to the Halloween party with my Nintendo Switch. Hashtag Karen. Game Boy, 1989. Still works after almost 30 years despite being literally hit with a bomb. Nintendo Switch, 2017. Bricked after almost 30 seconds of exposure to oxygen. I hope they remember you. If Overwatch was on the Nintendo Switch. Breath of the Wild trailer. Open your eyes. Me. We have 4K. We can play Skyrim remastered on the go. Nintendo Switch 2017. Nintendo. Please don't lick our cartridges. Gamers. Look who bought their Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch fans want. Release lineup, battery life info, true Metroid sequel, cross-platform AAA games, AMA with Karen. Good lord, what is happening in there? Smash for Nintendo Switch. Smash for the Nintendo Switch? At this time of year, at this time of day, outside of an E3, localized entirely in a Nintendo Direct? Yes. Can I see gameplay footage? No. I love the new Nintendo Switch. So many cool configurations. Switch analysis by Karen. 50% handheld, 50% console. I call this one it's time for a Switch. More like it belongs in a ditch. More tech went into Warmed's clock than into the Nintendo Switch dock. Yay. Got my Nintendo Switch in. I can see what all the hype is about. The real Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Labo in a nutshell. I couldn't afford a present this year, so I got you this box. Nintendo Labo. JFK Reloaded. Nintendo Switch Online Service. Paid service launching fall 2017. Nintendo Z3 2014 video. Nintendo Switch Box 2017. Domino's. Switch. Nintendo Switch. Coincidence? I think not. Wii U a Lola form. PS Switch Pro. PS Vita Pro. Nintendo Switch voice chat. Inventors. Kimishima, what are your plans to save Nintendo? Kimishima. You wanted Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for the Nintendo Switch, but instead, they put the Nintendo Switch in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Playing Nintendo Switch with Joy-Cons. Playing Nintendo Switch with Joy-Con grip. Playing Nintendo Switch with Pro Controller. Playing Nintendo Switch with Wii Remote. PlayStation 4. Xbox One. Nintendo Switch. When Toad lied about the Nintendo Switch. So it seems like Nintendo didn't tell us that the Switch can actually float in the air. Nintendo Switch. The Lord of the Rings. Nintendo. What should we call our new console? Charge Blade Main. What about Nintendo Charge? Switch Axe Main. I have a better idea. Connect 4. The classic Nintendo Switch game. The Nintendo Switch has finally been released worldwide, $633. So we are going to have a keyboard for the Nintendo Switch. You know what that means? Mario teaches typing. Told my dad I wanted a Nintendo Switch, and he brought home this FFS. When mom forgets to pick you up from baseball practice. TFW, everyone is posting pictures of their new Switch and I'm like, let Daddy Bowser show you how it's done. Don't say that. Fire Emblem Labo.
Yeah, Skyrim's overhyped. Probably just split the fan base on this one.
Oh, you freaking moron. You just got switched. Nintendo Switch looking great.
Every day we stray further from God.
Woohoo. Make sure to pre-order yourself a copy of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition for the Nintendo Switch. What is this? A controller for ants.
Oh, it's the Joy-Con.
When you stay up too late playing Nintendo Switch and you remember you have no job, no girlfriend, and live with your parents, so it doesn't matter. For more spicy memes just like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out our other videos and thanks for watching.
Why not make an Elder Scrolls 6 already? It's Bethesda, dude.
Text to meme. Who I mained. What I expected. What I got. I paused at the wrong time. Super Smash Bros. 1999. Look at these cute Nintendo characters fighting against each other. LMAO. Super Smash Bros. 2018. Oh my god, these two innocent squid children are about to get beaten to death by the god and for no fucking reason. Everyone's
or vaporized by a giant angelic light who in Horror Brawl is voiced by the Smash 4 and Ultimate announcer. And Grove from Soul Calibur 6. And Johnny Firecracker in Team 4 Star's version of Dragon Ball Z. And Daros from Fire Emblem Warriors. Josh, are there any other roles by Xander Mobus that I missed, or did I get most of them?
Reaction to Super Smash Bros. Microsoft and Sony. Fans who said it wouldn't happen. Fans who said it would happen. Masahiro Sakurai.
Painfully accurate.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's from.
Yeah, Joker in Persona 5, Abigail from Street Fighter 5. And I already mentioned Firecracker, Josh.
Stephen Blow on the Pursuit of Battle.
Bruh.
I just feel like no one understands me, you know? There. Problem solved. Goodbye, Ganondorf.
Ganondorf's like, oh, no, nope.
No, Pichu, you don't understand. I didn't get the job. What? Why? Sakurai thinks I'm a clone. That's insane. Saying you're a clone is like saying I'm a clone. Here's your special move, sir. I'm supposed to take damage with these. Upgrade. What the fuck, go back please. FR. You win. I will catch you with my net, kill you with my axe, bury you with my shovel, and plant a tree over your grave. I will gather all my friends around town who, none the wiser, will eat the fruits from the tree that has grown off of your rotting flesh. They will all admire how good it tastes. I will erase you. Who I mained. What I expected. What I got.
No comment.
What kind of fool do you take me for? He's in Smash. She's in Smash. You're in Smash. Are there any more Smash fighters I should know about? Woof. When the Smash Ball appears.
Yeah, everyone story of my life. When the Smash Pro, that thing appears, everyone just makes a mad friggin' dash for it.
New Smash Brothers Direct. Corin.
Is it weird that I actually waifu Corin?
And Bayonetta.
I'm crushed.
When he picks you up and spins you around.
Yikes.
What Arthonus?
Damn it, villager.
Are you kids ready to see the newcomer? Yeah. Alright. Here you go. Hey kids. I'm Dr. Mario. Buy lots of copies of Smash. Hue 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 hue.
I thought Minot was your barefoot waifu.
Batter up. When you Loki got the most lives on Super Smash Bros. And someone mentions it and everyone starts attacking you. What would Smash Bros. And chill even be like? 20 minutes into Smash Bros. And chill. What Nintendo intended as the face of evil. What the internet thinks of as the face of evil. Jesus Christ confirmed for Smash Bros. If you're ever feeling down, you can always play me, or me, or me, or me, not me. I was cancelled. Lucina, I'm your father. That's not true. That's impossible. Oh Peach, you have a kingdom? That's cute. I got a galaxy, bitch.
The sad truth of the matter is, Rosalina's not wrong. But the backstory of that means the poor girl could use a hug.
When you're in the air for more than 0.01 seconds as Pac-Man. Villager does not care about your lasers. Villager does not care about your rockets. Villager only cares about decorating his house.
Priorities.
Challenges. Show your best friend Squidward to everyone in Bikini Bottom, wearing a salmon suit. How tough am I? I beat Super Smash Bros. Melee on very hard. Yes so? With Pichu. Right this way.
We got a badass over here.
Does this look like the face of mercy?
Nope.
Human beings in a mob. What's a mob to a king? What's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer who don't believe in anything? We need disguises. Perfect. In the entire Smash Brothers history, no screenshot will ever surpass this one.
He's like, nah, bro. I got this.
No. Luigi time. I've been meaning to ask you, what's with that pocket on your shirt? Oh, just your charged shot. Game. Villager, please. No. Hello darkness, my old friend. So far today, and it's not even 2 o'clock yet, you have sided off the edge 43 times. Bay, come over. Me, I can't. Bay, I got Super Smash Brothers for Wii U. Me.
Okay. Besides, Etika came up with the term barefoot waifu. I'll do an Etika dedicated chill stream. Just to make sure the Joy-Con men get their bone.
The gang's all here. What I thought. What I expected. What I got. Gay, introducing the new contender. Lesbian. Malay fan base. Brawl. Wait, guys. We are not cavemen. We have technology. Project M. For more spicy memes just like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out our other videos and thanks for watching.
Next we got Pokemon. Oh brother.
Text to meme.
Hey, can you put the baby laugh back in the intro? The new laugh is really annoying.
I'll have you know, I killed a shiny Pokemon, and I only cried for 20 minutes. Pokemon for Switch will likely be a Kanto remake nobody wanted, but that's none of my business. It's Pikachu. When you realize that the female character from Pokemon Sun and Moon went to Glove World. I will be 80 and still playing Pokemon. What if Pokemon Go is really just a way for China to get detailed maps of our entire country?
Holy God! I did not even... So... What?
Clitoris? I have never heard of that Pokemon. Pokemon in 3D with battle animations? Shut up and take my money. 480p. 4K. It took 20 years, but Team Rocket just beat Ash fair and square in battle.
With a fake Pikachu and whatever in God's name this thing is. Oh, and Meowth.
If one does not love Nintendo, then they still watch My Little Pony.
Which, thank God, it's finally ending.
I just hatched you and this is crazy. But where the fuck did you get that baby?
For the longest time, I was wondering that.
Back in my day, Pokemon games were named after colors, not algebra equations. They laughed at my splash. I laughed at their corpses. Pika Pika Pikachu. Balba. This is an investor report, right? Yep. This is where Nintendo wants to give up to-date information to their investors, right? Yep. So Nintendo would want its investors to know if Pokemon is coming out in 2018 or 2019, right? Makes sense to me. Then if the investor report says 2018 or later, it probably means they have an announcement planned. Just because it says 2018 or later, doesn't mean they have an announcement planned. Nintendo controller in the 80s. Nintendo controllers now. What the actual fuck have you done, Nintendo? One does not simply gotta catch them all. Map, hello there. Have I got a deal? Just for this has been the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals, maybe ever.
Hey Josh, correct me if I'm wrong here, but didn't Team Rocket get owned for the last 20 or so years?
Has traveled 6 different regions. Still has no girlfriend. I got one question for ya.
What are those?
When you hang with the coolest kids in school, them.
You know, Giovanni, leave the punishments to, someone who's made an art form of them for the last 7 years or so. And who lives in a deck building Sperg's headspace. And who hosts a radio show. And who's made it their sworn duty to destroy communism in various creative and brutal ways. And, I think they got the point, Monokuma. Oh, okay.
I guess my brain is just really big. What else is really big? I thought you'd never ask. I have this huge Pokemon card 5000. Can only remember 4 moves.
Huh?
Pokemon logic. Hey, I just hatched you. And this is crazy. You're still an egg. Hatch again maybe? Beedrill. Yeet drill.
Yeet.
Me before eating. Versus me after. I have the best Pokemon card collection. The greatest 3DS and Pokemon X and Y. If I had them. I don't always look at Pokemon memes. But when I do, I have to ask my 8-year-old son if they're funny. If you don't save before trying to catch a legendary Pokemon,
you're gonna have a bad time.
I killed Bulbasaur, Charmander and Squirtle. Now you have to pick me as your starting Pokemon. Leaked screenshot of the new Pokemon game coming to the Nintendo Switch. In Soviet Russia, Pikachu catches you. Acronine is using extreme speed. Hey Brock, what is extreme speed? When a Pokemon's speed goes to the extreme.
Or rather, a move that prioritizes the speed of one Pokemon over the speed of another.
You don't say. Pokemon game name in 2016. Pokemon game name in 2018. Not a familiar name at all, or anything. When Nintendo revealed 2 Pokemon games. No one cares. Pikachu X Ketchup. Still a better love story than Twilight.
Go on ahead. Write your fanfics.
Has been on a journey for 15 years. Best friend is still a Pokemon. Pokemon is stupid, all the games are exactly the same. Owns every Call of Duty game. Can Pokemon only say their name? Or are they named after the only thing they can say? Getting losers. We are going to have remakes. Studies Pokemon. Doesn't know the daily activities of one. Professor Oak, is your mom still single? Ash, yes. Professor Oak, go and catch every Pokemon out there. I beat Pokemon X and Y with a single Pokemon. So, it was a bit of right this way.
Alright. Okay. Wait, where's my banana? Oh well. After this spicy meme video, I will end the stream.
Way, sir. Reason for collecting Pokemon cards. To trade. Battle with them. To throw around the house, and pretending they're a shuriken. Bored. When I was a kid, I thought I was the actual Pokemon champion of the world, after I beat the game. Albino animals. Is our world's version of shiny Pokemon. Pokemon Stars. Pokemon Magikarp Jump Deluxe. Scientifically crafted Pokemon medicine, plus 20 HP. Regular bottle of water, plus 50 HP. What I saw. What his parents saw. When you have a migraine and your crush asks if you are alright. Nintendo reveals trailer for Pokemon Switch. WTF is this shit, Nintendo? Ralts. Kirillya. Gardevoir. Mega Shiny Gardevoir. Ditto transformed into Mega Shiny Gardevoir. Dangers of Pokemon Go. Unnecessary walking and meeting annoying people. Pokemon, I need to lower this Pokemon's HP, so my trainer can catch it. Pokemon to Pokemon, do a critical hit. My zombie apocalypse team. Team leader. Brawler. Weapon. Brains. Medic. Speed fighter. Mascot. Guy who dies first. Pokemon milk can. Pokemon cereal. When you find out you are adopted. Defeats hundreds of trained Pokemon, a Latinus and dozens of gym leaders without going down. Loses to a level 5 Snivy. I spent my whole life researching Pokemon. Take my Pokédex with you, it's empty. Piffed, you think this is a dragon? Ha, you must be stupid. This is a dragon.
Looks like a snap
I'm Barack
ball.
Obama. And I approve this message. Boy. How about those new Pokemon evolutions? Pokemon like to hide in tall grass. Lawnmowers? What are those? Oh, we are out of water. So, just use your Pokemon. What should we do? It's so hot in this desert. Are you kidding me? You have at least 3 water types. What the hell is wrong with these people?
I don't know.
Everybody is getting Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. And I'm just sitting here, waiting for Pokemon Sun and Moon. For more spicy memes just like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to subscribe to my highlight channel as well. Join the Discord to work with others creating original memes that will appear in a video. That way this channel will give you memes you can't find anywhere else. Thanks for watching.
And on that note, it is time to end the stream. So if you guys like what you saw, hit the like button, share it with your amigos, and subscribe with notifications turned on for the next time I stream. Tune in every Monday through Friday at 9:30 p.m. Central Standard for Sperg Games, 3 o'clock every Thursday for the annual Road to Mortal Kombat 11, and every Saturday and every weekend at 10 o'clock for the Deck Out Chill stream. This has been your Lethal Sperg, John Peterson here, telling y'all to take it easy.